big bait ball right there. My. All right, we're on. Hey, welcome to the third episode of Fire Island Catch and Cook. It's been about a week and a half since the release of my last video, and since then I've gone out a handful of times and have got on schoolie-sized striped bass, the smaller striped bass. Today, the water temperature is about 53 degrees, so I'm hoping to get on a keeper-sized striped bass. I'm heading east. It's 5:50 a.m., which means that we're right at first light right now, which is a great feeding time. I'm still going to be throwing the artificial tackle, but I have had reports that there are bunker blitzes going on in the bay, which means that the striped bass are feeding on bunker in the bay, which also means that we can live line, which is a very exciting way to fish, and typically I do that out in the ocean. So it's an exciting opportunity in our bay. I've gotten reports that there are weak fish back in the Great South Bay. It's also really exciting. We had a good weak fish season last year. All right, so I'm seeing birds working right now. Oh wow, I see a blitz right now. We're blitzing. All right, well, you are going to transfer right to my chest, and we are going to catch some fish. What a treat. All right, so when we're fishing with circle hooks, you want to keep tension on the fish at all times. I can't believe we just caught a fish live lining in the bay. This is phenomenal. This must be a nice fish. All right. That's why we need to use a net. Got ourselves a bunker. Now hopefully I don't catch a striped bass before I get this bunker back, because I'm not allowed to keep it. All right, we got our bunker. Tail hooked. Big juicy guy here. All right, take the circle hook. Gonna put it right through his mouth here, through the hard part of the cartilage in the top. Come on. There we go. All right, let's get him out there. All right, there's a fight right now. I hope I got that on video. And we're on. Oh. So he just got whacked. Oh, he's still alive. He's still alive. Oh, we're gonna get whacked. Yep, let him eat. Let him eat. And we're on. And we're on. Oh. All right, he's getting whacked. Let him eat. Let the fish eat. Oh, big blitz right there. That bunker looks kind of dead. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get myself another one on the treble hook. Oh, and we're on. All right, shit. What a day. Oh, geez. That looks like a keeper. Let's land this fish. Come on. Oh, we got him. We got him. All right. Let's see. All right. Let's see. That is 31 inches. Here's a beautiful 31-inch keeper, live lined on the bay, right at first light. This is a real treat. I couldn't be more stoked right now. That is great. All right, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna bleed this fish out. All right, now we have something to cook. All right, let's get another fish. You can feel when the bass or whatever you're live lining for is gonna strike, because the bunker, you can feel the tension and they start getting really fluttery and panicked right before a fish strikes. And once they strike, you gotta let them eat a little bit. If you saw earlier, I went to go set the hook a little bit too early and the bunker popped right out of their mouth. Big blow up on my bunker. Come on. Eat it. These circle hooks are a different ball game. All right, I think we're on. This is the third fish of the day because I lost the first one. Let's see what we got here. Oh. I actually don't mind if I lose this fish because I can't keep another one. But let's see what we got. Wow. Oh. Oh. Whoa. This is a nice fish. Oh, he's under the boat. That's not good. Nope. It's a nice fish. Let's see what's the size. That's a 32-incher right there. What an epic day here live lining right outside my hometown on bunker. I could not be more stoked here. All right, man, let's get you back on the water. You are a good looking fish. You live to see another day. Oh, it's gone already. Three fish, lost one of them, but two keeper size, and I can only keep one, so I got myself a keeper, which means we're going back to the dock to fillet it, and we're gonna cook up a delicious meal today. All right, so we got our 31-inch striped bass right here. Beautiful fish. And we're gonna use the same technique I said before. We're gonna start on an angle up by the head. Gonna cut there, and we're gonna go right down the spinal cord here. One thing that's better about this fish, I put it into ice water in the bucket, which makes the meat and the protein much easier to cut. Once we do that, we're gonna work our way back up here. All right, so there's fillet number one. I'm not scaling this fish, therefore I didn't scale it while the fish was whole. Flip the fish over. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing again. And we have our second fillet. I'm gonna save this carcass because my neighbor over here makes fish stock out of it, takes out the cheeks, uses the carcass, and makes like a nice fish stock. Wipe away some of that blood. And we're gonna use the same technique as before. I'm gonna cut a little flap here. Make a nice cutout for my thumb. These birds are going crazy. And I'm just gonna run this along the bottom of the fish, next to the skin, and let that do the work for me. We have a nice clean fillet with minimal bloodline. Put this off to the side. Same thing with this fillet. There. Little hole. And I'm going to run it right up the skin. Second fillet. So a lot of fishermen say to me, what is a good meal that I can cook either for my significant other or if I'm having people over and they want to host. Something that's impressive, but simple, easy to put together, and absolutely delicious. That dish, for me, 10 times out of 10 is going to be a Parmesan Crusted Striped Bass. The reason for that is the prep is relatively simple. It's baked in the oven, so you could do, if you had, 6 to 10 people over for dinner, you could prep this meal and have it all come out at the same time, nice and hot. There's a lot of different sides you could put with it, and it's a really nice go-to meal for someone who's entry level in the kitchen. So I'm gonna take these fillets just as they are, and I'm gonna bring them home. We're gonna start prepping that Parmesan Crusted Striped Bass, and I will see you right back in the kitchen. So we are doing Parmesan Crusted Striped Bass, and that's going to be over a pesto Vesuvio pasta right here, along with roasted cherry peppers and garlic. So we're gonna cover all the bases of a very filling meal, delicious. I really like, the offset between the pasta, the fish, and then getting some of these roasted vegetables on the side. It's a really nice balance. And I think that, you could really go crazy with the sides. There's a lot of different sides you could do. We're gonna start with the fish prep. I'm gonna run my fingers through it, and I just wanna feel if there's any bones. So if I feel any bones, I'm just gonna pull them out with my fingers, or you can get kind of needle nose pliers and pull any of that out. I'm not feeling any bones on there. We did a pretty good job filleting this, which is great. I'm only gonna be using about half of this fillet today, and I'm preparing it for 2 people, but it doesn't matter if you're gonna do for 5 people or 8 people or 2 people, the prep is almost exactly the same. So we're gonna cut these into fillets that we're gonna use. I like to use the part of the fish that is, if you can see from the top, kind of equal thickness. And I'm gonna cut one fillet here, and I'm gonna cut the second fillet here. All right, now we got 2 really nice sized fillets, and I'm gonna put these off to the side. So same thing we did in our last video when we were preparing the protein. I'm gonna start with the salt brine. So I'm gonna take each fillet and I'm gonna put it on my wire rack. I'm gonna get my sea salt, and I'm going to generously coat each side with the sea salt. What this does is it pulls some of the moisture, and if you have a very fishy fish, doing a salt brine or a sake brine or a milk bath will take out some of that fishy taste. That's not really the case in striped bass. Striped bass tastes delicious, so that's not really why I'm doing it, but I'm just gonna do this salt brine so I can prepare the fish and get some of that moisture out of it. So this is gonna go in the fridge from anywhere from 1 to 4 hours, and it's the first step that you're gonna do while you're cooking. So you can prepare that, and then we're gonna prep everything else that we're gonna do. So I'm gonna throw this right into the fridge. Now the next thing that I'm gonna do is prepare my cherry tomatoes and my garlic to be roasted. And I want that to start roasting before everything else so that it's ready to go. And if it gets to a point where it's roasted before everything else is ready, that's completely okay, because we can just kind of keep it off to the side and throw it into the oven when we're gonna handle everything else. So I'm gonna start with my cherry tomatoes, and I have them on the vine, so I'm gonna pluck some of these off. And I'm really only gonna use enough for 2 portions, but just use however many you need. I mean, I would say probably, 6 cherry tomatoes per fillet. And I'm gonna take them and I'm just gonna simply cut them in half. Right, and then I'm gonna get some of this garlic. And we're just gonna punch the top to get the skin off. So the big ones, I'm gonna cut them into 3 or 4 pieces, and I'm gonna throw them just right on top here. All right, so I have my cherry tomatoes and my garlic on there. I'm gonna take some extra virgin olive oil and I'm just gonna drizzle it all over the top here. I'm gonna go with some fresh ground pepper and Himalayan sea salt on top. Now, this is really simple. We're just gonna throw this in the oven. I'm preheating it for 425 degrees. That's going to be the temperature to roast all of this while I'm prepping all the rest of the food. It's also gonna be the temperature that I'm baking the fish at when that's ready to go in. So I'm gonna go pop this in the oven. We're gonna let it sit there while I prep everything else. So now we're gonna do our pesto, which is going to go in the pasta before we serve the fish over it. Pesto is really good because it's very easy to make and it's absolutely delicious. So all the ingredients are gonna go right into the Fruit Ninja and then we're gonna blend it up, make sure the consistency's right, and then we're ready to serve it with our pasta. I'm gonna start out with roughly 2 cups worth of basil. So I'm gonna take these basil leaves and I'm just going to pluck them and throw them right into this Fruit Ninja container. Then we're gonna put in just under a half a cup of pine nuts. Throw them in. About a half a cup of Romano cheese, grated Romano cheese. And then we're gonna put in about a half a cup of extra virgin olive oil. So I'm gonna eyeball this. Typically, I don't really measure at all when I'm cooking, but I know that people are gonna want the recipe for this. We're gonna do about a half a cup. And then I'm gonna, once I blend this up, I'm gonna feel it for consistency and just see if it's a consistency that I like. So we're gonna stop it about there. One secret ingredient that I always like to do is I have this Truffle Pig black truffle oil. I love truffle. The only thing, it smells so good. The only thing about this is you don't wanna go crazy with it. If you're gonna put truffle oil in something, just do kind of a couple of drops and that's enough for the entire dish. And you'll smell that truffle in your house. It's very potent even right now. So I'm gonna close this up. I'm gonna blend it in the Fruit Ninja and then I'm gonna bring it back so you can see it. All right, so this is my second go around. Let's pop this open and see what it looks like inside. Great, so some people like their pesto to be very smooth. I like mine a bit chunky, so you can see in here that, you know, you have, it's a kind of a coarse consistency. One other quick garnish I'm gonna make is I have Italian parsley and I'm just gonna chop this up. This is gonna go on top of the fish. I'm gonna throw that right into a ramekin. Our next step is to make the Parmesan crust, which is actually not Parmesan. It's Romano, and now that I'm engaged to a Sicilian, Romano is the only thing allowed in our house, and I like it better than Parmesan, but we're going with this Romano cheese, and we're gonna put all the ingredients in 2 separate bowls. We're gonna start out with a half a cup of that Romano. All the dry ingredients are going to go into the big bowl. All the wet ingredients are gonna go in the small bowl, and then we're gonna combine them together. 3/4 cup of Japanese panko crumbs. All right, so we're putting those 2 things in there and we're just gonna kind of mix them up with our hand. Then we have 3 tablespoons of room temperature butter. The only butter in my house is Kerrygold. I love it. 3 tablespoons of mayo. 3 scallions. You can put the scallions in with the dry ingredients, so we're just gonna throw them in there. Mix all that up. In our wet ingredients, we're going to do 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 teaspoon of Frank's Red Hot sauce, about a half a lemon's worth of juice, I'm gonna throw some ground pepper in there, a little salt to taste, and then we're gonna take the wet ingredients and we're just gonna mix them up in this bowl here. It's not going to completely mix in, but just do your best. So when you have it generally mixed together, you're then going to take the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients, and you're going to take a rubber scraper and you're just going to put them in with each other like this. And you're going to see it's starting to form this kind of nice like breadcrumb mix. I'm going to take my hand and I'm just going to mix this all together. So our last step before we finish the fish prep is to get our pasta going. So like I said, we're going to be using Vesuvio pasta. It's got a really nice shape to it. I like it because it's kind of twisted up and it has these crevices in it. And really, it's great for picking up those bits of pesto. Preheated some water, and I always like to add chicken bone broth. That adds a really nice flavor into the pasta. And I'm gonna add some olive oil and salt. So I'm gonna get this up to a boil, and then I'm gonna throw in my pasta. So aside from the parsley that we're gonna use to garnish the fish, it's always good to have lemon on the side. I'm gonna cut both sides off here, and then I'm just gonna make wedges of that lemon. Our fish fillets have now been in from 1 to 4 hours, and the same thing in my last video, when you're working with these types of proteins, you're going to salt brine them and then blot them off because we don't wanna work with wet protein. And I'm gonna use the same pan and I'm gonna just butter it a little bit. And then once that's done, I'm just gonna place my fillets back in the middle of this pan. Then we're gonna take our Parmesan crust right here. I'm gonna put a little dollop on the top, and I'm gonna start pressing this down just to make a nice coating on top of the fish. All right, great. So we have our fish prepped. I'm gonna put this off to the side. Our bone broth pasta water is now boiling. So we are going to fog this camera up to put our Vesuvio pasta right into the water. And this is gonna take about 11 minutes, and I'm going to continue to stir it every few minutes until that's done. So while the pasta's cooking up, I'm gonna give it a little bit of a head start before we put the fish in. The fish is going to be in the oven at 425 for anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes. The finishing temperature inside the fish is gonna be about 125 to 130 degrees. After that 8 to 10 minutes, it should look a little bit browned on the top, and then we're gonna cut the oven, we're gonna put it on broiler, we're gonna move it up to a higher shelf in the oven, and we're gonna broil it just to finish it and crisp up that top of the fish. So now that it's been a couple of minutes, I'm gonna throw the fish in at 425 right in the center of my oven. So make sure it's al dente. It's hot, perfect. I'm gonna strain this out, let it cool for a couple minutes. I'm gonna show you how the fish is doing. So here's how the fish is looking after 8 minutes in the oven. I'm gonna go and turn on the broiler, and I'm gonna crisp this up before it's finally done. It's gonna be on the broiler for 1 to 2 minutes, but really we're gonna look at it on the broiler, and as soon as it gets a nice brown golden crust on the top, we know that it's done. While that fish is getting crispy on the broiler, I have our pasta here. It's perfectly cooked. Honestly, doing it in bone broth just makes this plain pasta so delicious. We're gonna make it even better. I'm gonna take the pesto, just gonna put a whole bunch right into this little bowl here, and I'm gonna mix it up. The heat from the pasta is gonna thin out some of this pesto. I wish you could smell what's going on in this kitchen right now between all the different flavors. We have a lot of really nice aromas coming out here. Take one of these cups and just throw 1 serving size in here so we can make it nice for plating. Look at all this. So we have our beautiful golden brown Parmesan Crusted Striped Bass. We have our roasted garlic and cherry tomatoes. We have our pesto pasta, and we have our garnishes. So what I'm gonna do is just flip it over onto the plate, and I'm gonna let it drop out. All right. I'm gonna take this beautiful fillet right here,
and just stick it right on top. We're gonna take some of these tomatoes and roasted garlic, and let's just decorate our dish. Then I'm gonna take my fresh parsley, throw it right on top, and a couple of lemon wedges. We have ourselves a beautiful meal. Parmesan Crusted Striped Bass over pesto pasta with roasted cherry tomatoes and garlic. I am really excited to dig in here. I'm going to start with the fish. And I just want to show you how delicate it is right inside. Still steaming. And we are perfectly cooked here. Oh my God. Striped bass is some of the best eating, in my opinion. And that pesto, it has the perfect balance. Let's see how these roasted vegetables are. Got a little bit of garlic, a little bit of tomato. All right, now let's make it real with some lemon and get in for a little bigger piece of this fish. I don't know if you can see that, but it just cuts like butter. Cuts like absolute butter. The crust stays right on top of the fish even when you cut it with a fork. It's steaming. I could eat this 3 nights a week. And really, it will impress your guests. And it doesn't take that much effort. All right, well, I'm gonna finish this without you. So thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I'm having a really good time with YouTube. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel and you wanna see future content, please subscribe. If you like the video, click the like. And if you're on Instagram, check me out. I just did a t-shirt giveaway, and actually everybody who participated in the Instagram giveaway won a t-shirt. And I have some really exciting giveaways coming up in the future. I have my own hot sauce, and I'm gonna be partnering with some local fishing shops to do some gift card giveaways. So we're forming a really cool community behind Fire Island Catch and Cook. And I really appreciate you and your time for tuning in. So have a great day, and yeah, leave me alone so I can eat the rest of this.